to has just recently been launched, already demonstrating great success. But as most of the audience knows, in the satellite business, as soon as you have one launch, you've got to start planning for the next. And so that's where we are right now. Now, why do we want to have this kind of capability for altimetry? And the best way I can explain that is in the diversity of applications going from the longest time scales, the climate sort of century-long time scales. It really is as a result of this 16-year-long series of observations that we've been able to adequately quantify how much sea level rise is increasing, and it's now up over 3 millimeters per year, a dramatic increase over previous levels.
Can you just very quickly tell us about the cooperation, first of all, transatlantic cooperation for this 60-year effort, and your relationship with NASA and how that works in?
Well, NASA is an independent agency separate from my own agency, NOAA, and so there is an active dialogue between our two agencies. We try to define what the needs are from my agency, which arguably is a mission-oriented agency, with that of NASA, which is more of a research-oriented agency. We indicate, for example, that we want to have capabilities for making measurements, altimetric measurements of sea surface height. NASA's response is they want to work with us on next generation altimeters, and in fact the next generation of altimeters will probably be wider swath, higher resolution, so we can start looking at some very fine scale features of the ocean surface.
And the cooperation, transatlantic cooperation, how is that?
This couldn't be done without the cooperation across the ocean with EUMETSAT, with CNES. It requires co-funding. It requires collaboration by scientists. It requires collaboration in terms of technical development, sensor development, and of course, launch and the ground segment of the satellite operations is all done cooperatively through agreement.
I want everyone to answer this question, so we may just make a separate round of it. But what currently is not being done? Where are the gaps? Is everyone prepared on this panel to answer that question, or do you want Dr. Spinrad to do it all alone? Or you've got things to say too? You want him to start on it, yes. All right.
And I'll leave plenty for the other panelists, I assure you.
Just give us an idea of what's missing, what you would love to see, what gaps would you like to see filled?
Well, I alluded to one, and that is higher resolution altimetry would be enormously valuable. So there are discussions about high-res sea surface height. Another area where we clearly have recognized in the oceans that we need observations is in sea surface salinity. We've been measuring sea surface temperature for a long time. Many of the climate features are characterized in terms of sea surface salinity. I would also argue that observations of the winds at the sea surface, right now we have capabilities between QuickScat and ASCAT. The US and the Europeans have capabilities, but I suspect that we're going to need to improve those capabilities in the future. And the last area that I would identify is associated with direct observations of carbon. In this world that we're in right now where climate change is so critical, carbon inventories, carbon quantification, carbon observations, how the carbon concentrations change in the atmosphere and the surface ocean over time is going to have to be addressed with satellite capabilities.
Well, thank you very much for that, giving us a feeling for what are the gaps. But you're all going to have to tell us from your point of view as well where you think those gaps are and what we need to look forward to. Cosimo, you're managing director of the European Satellite Navigation Industries. You're both in Germany, and it's a joint Germany-Italy. Is that
Correct.
Right? First of all, you do something called a GNSS, Global Navigation Satellite Systems. Give us an idea where they are. I know that there are sort of one operating, three wishful.
Yeah.
Is that right?
The point is that when somebody mentions GNSS, automatically you couple that concept to GPS, which is in fact the only operational system just now covering the overall requirements of a GNSS system.
Right.
Let's define it.
But there are three ambitions in the works, no?
more than ambitious. They are operational, but let's clarify which are the requirements in order to discuss about a GNSS.
Hold it close
because
to you.
it's necessary, first of all.
Hold the microphone. Yeah, that's
Can
it.
you hear me?
Yeah, perfect.
Sorry. So it's necessary, first of all, to have a global coverage in space. Second, it's necessary to have a global coverage in time because you need to fix the position of any target all over the world anytime in real time. So we have to say that the only system up to now fulfilling these requirements is the GPS. It's not the only one because we have the Russian system, the GLONASS, that is now recovering the operation after a certain number of failures and problems. They are launching more satellites. They are recovering the
Their previous
operativity of the system.
capabilities. Yep.
But they are still far from the global coverage in space and in time.
And the
Then
Chinese?
there are at least two regional systems, not only Chinese, also Indian, that have the ambition to migrate, to upgrade to a real GNSS. And they are the IRNSS, and the Chinese is the Beidou system, that up to now they are conceived as regional. Now, another point that it's worth to clarify when discussing about GNSS, when one reads about it, you see the distinction GNSS 1 and GNSS 2.
Yes.
What does it mean? GNSS 1 is the current attitude, the current attempt to transform what is a military system, GPS, conceived with military specifications and borrowed to a dual use, in a full civilian system by increasing, augmenting its capabilities. And this is done either via satellite system or via ground system, the so-called satellite-based